part one of my testimony. I had to write this down because I've been toying with this for a long time. I remember vividly the day that God placed this on my heart. And I remember crying that entire day. My friends would call, and all I would do is just bust out crying. You know, of course I want to submit to the will of God, but it was just one of those things that, like, you know, if you know me, you know that I'm very quiet and reserved, and I don't really like to put my business out like that. But I have to surrender to God's calling, because I've been searching for this purpose for so long that, you know, it was one of those things, like, you know, I'm going to church, I'm in church, I'm praying, I'm meditating, I'm, you know, searching and seeking. God, please just show me my purpose. Give me my purpose. And, you know, I think for a long time, you know, I wanted my purpose to be something that I was already seeing on TV, like a singer, or, you know, an evangelist, or prophetess, or something big, you know. And all the while, I now realize that I'm here to encourage other people. I do have a story. I do. And I know that through my story, it should help other people that are going through similar things, like I went through, like I'm going through, you know. So here I am, God. And I don't even know what this is going to look like in the end, but I trust you. I trust you. So this is my testimony and my truth. Now stay with me, because, you know, it's pretty long. I'm a little old. So, you know, I grew up in church. My grandfather was a pastor. You know, all of my family can sing. All of them. I have an aunt that's an evangelist, and I remember when I was little how she would pray with me, and her eyes would be so big, like, it used to scare me. I was scared. I didn't, you know. And I know that when I was younger, it was more of a repetitious type situation. I didn't really understand why I was going to church, or what effect it was having on me, or, you know, the mama said get up and go to church. That's what I did. So, you know, I do remember being in a choir and singing too. And I love to sing. I love to sing. I don't remember a whole lot of my childhood, but I do remember that my father used to take me on the bus, and we would go to Chinatown, and he would buy me those big dresses that flare up at the bottom with the petticoats and everything. We lived right next door to a church for a little while. And we were very active in church, Bible study, Vacation Bible School. I mean, any event that was at church, we was there. Um, and as I grew up, still in church, still didn't realize, the effect that it would have on my life, just going repetitiously. Caught myself having a boyfriend at 6. And I guess I was a little controlling, because I remember telling him to come over to my house. And anyway, I waited on him and waited on him. He didn't show up. And I remember going to the corner, and I had a belt because I was going to whoop him. Yeah, he was going to get a whooping that day. So he ended up coming out or whatnot. And I don't know what happened, but I just remember, I don't know, being controlling like that. I remember being molested as well by a few of my family members. I don't remember how it stopped, but I do remember it happening. I do remember who it was. And one of them told me, "You ain't gonna never be nothing." And that stayed with me my whole life to this day. You ain't gonna never be nothing. I remember leaving Long Beach, California, and then moving to Washington, where I was in a predominantly Caucasian area. I was super popular. My nickname was Fred because I used to wear my stepfather's jacket to school, and ran for class treasurer. And I remember that point in time in my life where I loved school. It was okay to go home and study after school, or have a study class or whatnot. I probably was about 11 years old at that time. And some of the good parts of my life, I guess. I do remember falling into the wrong crowd, and I ended up dating a guy that was a senior in high school, and I was in middle school. And he asked me to go to prom, so I lied to my mom, told my mom I had this choir concert at school, and she made me this beautiful gown, and I just knew that I was going to be able to get away with going to this 12th grader's prom with him. So it took a couple of weeks. My mom had actually made the dress and tried it on. And the day that he was on his way in a limousine to come and pick me up. And I remember that, back then, we had home phones and stuff, and it just so happened that he called me, and my mother picked up the other line, and so she heard him telling me that he was on his way. Lord, So she locked my dress in her room and left. Oh my goodness. I was terrible. I was terrible. And Mama, I love you. Boy, I love you that you even still talk to me, because I know I gave you pure D heck hell, really. Um, but yeah, I remember that. I remember that. Probably about 12, we moved to Akron, Ohio, where it was a predominantly black area. And I was scared. I was nervous. I didn't know what to do. Like, I was going to high school, and I remember after my mom enrolled me in school and the bell rang and all these black people came out. I'm like, I was scared. Like, I was scared. I was scared. I went in the bathroom and hid in the bathroom for a while. Cause shoot. Like, it was weird. It was really weird. I didn't really know how to do my hair because I had been, in a predominantly white area, for so long that it was, I didn't know how to adapt. And so what I did was, of course, started hanging with the wrong crowd. I had a boyfriend who was super popular, one of the starter boys, and being with him made me popular. So I started skipping class and skipping school, and can't say I ended up losing my virginity because I was molested, but ended up having sex with him. And I was so in love. I wasn't in love, I was in lust. But I remember, getting in trouble, and I couldn't see him. Then I was literally like trying to pull my hair out, crying and throwing fits. And he's sneak him in the basement, and sneak him in the window. It did not matter. I love me some him. And after a while, we ended up breaking up, and I started dating other people. Another older guy that was stealing cars. So I ended up being in a stolen car with my little sister in the car. So of course they had to call my parents and have them come get me. And I was just bad, running away from home, stealing money, and going and staying in a hotel, and just doing the most. I can say that now because I'm grown, and having two girls of my own. It's just kind of one of those things where you're like, did I really do that? I did that. But you know what? God was always the center of my situation, and he always, like everything that I did at that particular time, it was like so much harm, and so many things could have happened to me. And even though I didn't realize it at the time, God had this covering over me. It was a covering, because no matter how much I rebelled, no matter how much or what I did, he just had this hedge of protection over me, and I ended up so bad that my mother decided to send me to my oldest brother in Washington. You know, he told my mom that he had a place and it was nice and he was going to enroll me in school and this and that. And I got there and it was a condemned basement that we lived in. He lived in one side of a room and then I lived in another side of the room with an air mattress on the floor, dirty. It was a bathroom down there, but really no light. I managed to adjust, and I can't honestly say the reason or why my brother didn't enroll me in school, but because I had already had friends that I connected with prior to leaving Washington, you know, I hooked back up with them and whatnot. Ended up running into somebody that was going to a school for their GED, and I lied on my little application and went to school, got my GED. Was dealing with this guy that I don't know, I thought I was in love again. And my friends were telling me, don't hang with him. He's a pimp. Like, whatever. He ain't no pimp. He ain't gonna do nothing to me. He love me. You know, he ain't gonna do nothing to me. And so anyway, we would hang out. I had never really like smoked weed. I had drank a beer by this time, but I never really like smoked weed or anything like that. But I knew the effect that it had on him when he smoked weed. And so one day we was out. No. Let me back up. So as I was going to school for my GED, came home one day, was in my little area, my little room, and went over to, my brother's room, and all of his stuff was gone. All of it was gone. So here I am, 14 years old, in this condemned basement. Can't find my brother. I don't know what happened to him, but I was determined to finish school. So I was going to school. I lied, of course, and I was working at Kentucky Fried Chicken, and told my counselor at the school I was going to what was going on. So they connected me with this group home shelter. So I stayed in there, stayed in the shelter, and finished going to school and work and stuff. And it was cool. It was cool, and I was still seeing my little boo thing at the time, when I could. And I was also bringing liquor back to the group home for my friends that was there. I had some older friends, and those older friends would in return, buy me liquor. So I brought it back. So I happened to be at work one day, and either I called or I can't remember, but one of the girls at the group home was like, don't come back because they found the liquor bottles in your stuff, in your suitcase. I'm like, God, okay. So I called my booski. Babe, I can't go back. So he picked me up and brought me to his place, and for a day or two it was good. And after that day or two, we was riding around. I remember riding around and he told me, he said, I need you to help me to help us. Don't you want a blue Cadillac? We need to make money so we could buy this blue Cadillac. And I'm thinking to myself, okay, well, I can't even drive, so okay, blue Cadillac. So this man convinced me to get on the corner. And I decided that I was gonna fight back. I wasn't getting on no corner. You wasn't gonna make me get on no corner. So he slapped me around a little bit. I straightened up. And he told me exactly what I was supposed to charge a trick. So he put me on the corner, and I remember him and his brother, like, they were close. Like, they were in the car, and they were close, like, in where they could see me, So I stood out there for a little bit, and he came back, picked me up. So, you got some money? No. I'm scared. So he beat me up a little bit more. This time he choked me to the point to where I kind of lost consciousness for a little bit. But as I woke up, I knew that, okay, I better do something. So he put me back out on the street again. And this time he ran over my foot. So now I'm limping down the street, crying, don't know who to call. My brother ain't nowhere to be found, oldest brother. And it was like I refused to turn a trick, but I was like, I better turn a trick, or I was going to be in trouble when he came and picked me up again. So my nose was bleeding, and I remember walking into a restaurant and, going to the bathroom and trying to clean up my face, and there were police officers in there. I tried to call my older brother, Collect, on the phone. Couldn't really tell him where I was, but I knew I was somewhere downtown. The police officers asked me if I was okay. And as I was getting ready to tell them what was going on, here he come pulling up. I was so scared and fearful for my life. I didn't know whether or not to, tell the police, or I don't know. So I ended up telling the police I'm fine. There's nothing wrong. Police end up leaving. I end up getting back in the car with him. He whooped me pretty good that night. That night he whooped me pretty good. And I remember back when we had spent nights together before, that when he smoked weed, he slept really hard. So this night, I was determined. I stayed up and I waited for him to go to sleep. And I took everything he had. I took all of his money. I took all of his dope and left. Called a cab to meet me down the street, and all I had was the clothes that was on my back. I had enough money to get on the bus and go to California, and so went to California. My cousin, my favorite cousin, allowed me to come and stay with her and her children.